Jake's perfect morning in Miami, cooking Sophia's favorite Cuban dish, turns into a nightmare when he finds a hidden phone under the bathroom sink. Texts from Alex mock him as boring and spineless. His wife's double life unravels before his eyes. Will Jake confront her or outsmart her? This is a tale of betrayal, courage, and a twist you won't see coming. Jake Alvarez woke up to the sizzle of onions in a pan, the smell of garlic and cumin filling his small Miami kitchen. It was a Saturday, the kind where the sun poured through the window like an invitation to start fresh. At 32, Jake was a graphic designer who found joy in small gestures, like surprising his wife, Sophia, with her favorite Cuban-style arroz con pollo. He'd spent the morning chopping peppers and marinating chicken, humming a tune from their first date at a salsa club in South Beach. Sophia was still asleep, her late-night work event keeping her out past midnight again. Jake didn't mind. He loved being the one to make her smile, to ground their life together with these quiet acts of care. He set the table for two, arranging the plates with precision, and decided to tidy up before she woke. Under the bathroom sink, he reached for a sponge, his fingers brushing against something hard and unfamiliar. A phone. Not Sophia's sleek iPhone with a glittery case she flashed at every dinner party. This was a cheap burner, the kind you'd see in a crime show. Jake's stomach tightened. He pressed the power button, and the screen lit up. No lock, no password, just a string of notifications from someone named Alex. "Miss you, mi amor," one read. Another, "Jake's so boring, bet he's ironing your shirts again." A third, dated last night. "Can't wait to see you at the beach." He'll never know. Jake's pulse hammered in his ears. He scrolled, each message a knife twisting deeper. Alex called her Mi Reina, a nickname Jake hadn't heard since their honeymoon in Havana. Worse, Sophia's replies were laced with jabs at him, calling him spineless, mocking how he'd planned a surprise anniversary dinner she'd blown off for a work trip. The text stretched back months, a timeline of deceit that made his knees weak. He sat on the bathroom floor, the cold tiles grounding him as he fought the urge to storm into their bedroom. Who was Alex? Why hadn't he seen this coming? Sophia's late nights, her new vanilla-scented perfume, her clipped answers when he asked about her day. They'd been red flags he'd ignored, chalking them up to her high-pressure marketing job. But this wasn't stress. This was betrayal, spelled out in digital ink. Jake's first instinct was to confront her, to demand answers. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she dismissed him last week, snapping, "Stop hovering, Jake," when he'd asked if she was okay. Or maybe it was the realization that a shouting match would only let her spin the story, make him the bad guy. No, he needed to be smarter. He pocketed the phone and returned to the kitchen, the arroz con pollo now cold on the counter. Sophia shuffled in, rubbing her eyes, her hair a messy bun. "Smells good," she mumbled, barely glancing at him as she grabbed a coffee mug. Jake forced a smile, his mind racing. "Made your favorite," he said, voice steady despite the storm inside. She nodded, distracted, scrolling her main phone. "Work's crazy today. Might need to head out soon." Jake watched her, searching for a crack at her facade, but she was seamless, a performer who'd perfected her act. "Sure," he said, "I'll save you some for later." She left without eating, claiming a last-minute meeting in downtown Miami. The door clicked shut, and Jake's calm shattered. He pulled out the burner phone again, diving deeper into the messages. Photos loaded, Sophia and a man with a cocky grin, posing on a Key West beach. Another of them in a hotel room, her wearing the necklace Jake had given her for their 5th anniversary, the one she'd claimed was lost. His chest burned, but he didn't cry. Instead, he grabbed his laptop and started cross-referencing her texts with her calendar. Work trips lined up with hotel bookings in the photos. Client dinners, match nights, she'd come home reeking of unfamiliar cologne. Jake wasn't just hurt, he was awake. For the first time in years, he saw Sophia not as his wife, but as a stranger who'd been rewriting their marriage behind his back. He decided to follow her, not out of desperation, but calculation. If she was meeting Alex, he'd catch them in the act, not to beg, but to know the full truth before deciding his next move. That evening, he tailed her to a trendy South Beach restaurant, parking his beat-up Honda a block away. Through the window, he saw her, radiant in the candlelight, laughing with a man who matched the photos. Alex. Jake's hands gripped the steering wheel, but he didn't rush in. He took a photo, time-stamped, clear as evidence. Then he drove home, the burner phone heavy in his pocket. Back in their apartment, Jake made a plan. He wouldn't confront her yet. He'd gather more proof, let her think she was still in control. He transferred the phone's data to a secure drive, every text and photo a brick in the wall he was building. Sophia came home late, humming, oblivious to his silence. "Long day," she said, kicking off her shoes. "You okay?" Jake nodded, his face a mask. "Just tired," he lied, mirroring her detachment. As she slept, Jake sat at the kitchen table, the arroz con pollo untouched. He wasn't the boring husband she mocked. He was a man waking up to his own strength, ready to reclaim his life. Tomorrow, he'd follow her again, watch her unravel her own lies. This wasn't about revenge, it was about clarity. And Jake was done living in her shadow. Jake's got proof of Sophia's betrayal. Texts, photos, lies stacked high on a hidden phone. Now, he's tailing her through Miami's neon nights, watching her with Alex, her lover who calls him spineless. Every move fuels Jake's resolve to expose her without losing himself. But when Sophia slips up, leaving a clue that could ruin her, will Jake strike or stay silent? The game's on, and the stakes just got higher. Jake Alvarez leaned against his Honda's driver's seat, the South Beach nightlife pulsing outside his window. The burner phone, Sophia's secret, sat heavy in his jacket pocket, its texts and photos burned into his memory. Last night, he'd seen her with Alex at a chic restaurant, their laughter mocking him through the glass. At 32, Jake wasn't a naive husband anymore. He was a man on a mission, piecing together the truth about his wife's double life without tipping his hand. He'd spent the morning digging deeper. Using the burner phone's data, Jake cross-checked Sophia's work trips with hotel receipts he found in their shared cloud account, one she hadn't bothered to delete. A weekend in Key West she'd called a solo retreat, matched a selfie of her and Alex on a pier, her wearing the anniversary necklace Jake thought was lost. Another receipt from a Coconut Grove boutique hotel lined up with a text to Alex. "Can't wait to see you tonight." Jake's clueless. Each discovery was a gut punch, but Jake didn't flinch. He was done being the fool. Today, he followed her again. Sophia had texted him about a late client meeting at a downtown Miami rooftop bar. Jake knew better. He parked 2 blocks away, blending into the crowd of tourists and locals spilling out of bars. The rooftop glowed with string lights, and there she was, Sophia, leaning close to Alex at a corner table, her hand brushing his as she laughed. Jake snapped a discreet photo from below, the timestamp a silent ally. He noticed something new, a key card on their table, embossed with the logo of a nearby hotel. Sophia was getting careless. Back home, Jake waited for her to return, keeping his routine normal to avoid suspicion. She breezed in at 1 a.m., humming a tune, her purse slung over her shoulder. "Crazy day," she said, barely looking at him as she poured a glass of water. Jake nodded, his face neutral. "Hope it went well," he replied, his voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. As she headed to bed, he noticed her purse on the counter, unzipped. Inside, the hotel keycard peeked out, confirming his hunch. He didn't touch it, just took a photo, adding it to his growing file of evidence. The next day, Jake took a risk. He accessed Sophia's work email through their shared laptop, a login she hadn't changed. Buried in a folder labeled expenses, he found an itinerary for a conference in Orlando next weekend. The same weekend, a text from Alex on the burner phone read, "Orlando's going to be our escape. No Jake, no stress." Jake's jaw tightened. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning a future that erased him entirely. He decided to up the ante. Instead of confronting her, Jake started planting subtle traps. He left the burner phone in her purse after taking a full backup, curious if she'd notice. She didn't. He also accidentally forwarded one of her work emails to himself, an innocuous one about a team meeting, to see if she'd react. She didn't. Sophia was so confident in her deception that she'd stopped covering her tracks. That arrogance was her mistake, and Jake was ready to use it. Friday night, Sophia announced another work event at a Wynwood art gallery. Jake followed, keeping his distance. The gallery was packed, vibrant murals lining the walls, but Jake's focus was razor-sharp. Sophia and Alex moved through the crowd, her arm looped through his. Jake overheard her laugh. Jake's probably home designing another logo. So predictable. The words stung, but they also fueled him. He snapped a video, catching her slipping the keycard into Alex's pocket, a move so bold it screamed recklessness. On his way home, Jake got a call from Maria, Sophia's cousin, and the only family member who ever checked in on him. "Jake, something's off," she said, her voice low. "Sophia's been weirdly secretive, even with me. You okay?" Jake hesitated. Maria was loyal to Sophia, but had always been fair. "I'm handling it," he said, keeping it vague. Maria paused. "If you need to talk, I'm here." Jake hung up, wondering if Maria could be an ally, or if she'd run to Sophia. He couldn't trust anyone yet. That night, alone in their apartment, Jake sat at his laptop, organizing his evidence. Texts, photos, videos, receipts. He wasn't building a case for a fight. He was building one for freedom. Sophia's lies were a house of cards, and he was ready to pull the first one. But he needed one more piece, something undeniable to expose her without sinking to her level. He checked the burner phone again and found a new message from Alex. "Book the Orlando hotel. Tell Jake it's a girl's trip." Jake smiled, cold and certain. Sophia's next move was his opening. He planned his next step carefully. He'd follow her to Orlando, not to confront, but to document. If she was this blatant, she'd slip up again, and Jake would be there to catch it. He wasn't the boring husband she mocked anymore. He was a man rewriting his own story, one calculated move at a time. As Sophia slept soundly in their bed, Jake packed a small bag, ready for the weekend. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Jake's got the evidence. Texts, photos, proof of Sophia's lies with Alex. Now, in Orlando's glittering nightlife, he's ready to turn the tables. As Sophia and Alex flaunt their affair, Jake steps into the spotlight with a move so bold it'll leave her reeling. Will his calculated strike expose her? Or will Sophia twist the truth again? The climax hits hard, and no one's walking away unscathed. Jake Alvarez gripped the steering wheel as he pulled into Orlando's downtown, the city's neon lights casting a glow over his 3-hour drive from Miami. The burner phone, Sophia's secret, was tucked in his glove compartment, its damning texts and photos backed up on a secure drive. At 32, Jake wasn't the blindsided husband anymore. He was a man with a plan, ready to expose his wife's affair with Alex in a way she couldn't dodge. Sophia had lied about a girl's trip to Orlando, but Jake knew the truth. She was here with Alex, checked into a boutique hotel for a weekend getaway. He'd tracked her movements meticulously. The burner phone's latest message from Alex confirmed their plans. Dinner at a swanky rooftop restaurant overlooking Lake Eola, followed by drinks and nearby club. Jake parked a block away, blending into the weekend crowd of tourists and partiers. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with focus. Tonight wasn't about confrontation. It was about clarity. He'd spent weeks gathering evidence. Hotel receipts, photos of Sophia and Alex on Key West beaches, videos of her slipping a hotel key card into Alex's pocket at a Wynwood gallery. Now, he'd catch her in the act, undeniable in public. At the restaurant, Jake secured a table 2 rows from theirs, close enough to observe but far enough to stay unnoticed. Sophia and Alex sat by the railing, her laughter carrying over the hum of conversation. She leaned into him, her hand grazing his arm, the same gesture she hadn't offered Jake in years. Alex grinned, scrolling his phone, oblivious to the storm brewing. Jake's phone, set to silent, recorded a discreet video, capturing Sophia toasting Alex with a glass of wine. The timestamp would be his ally, just like the envelope he'd prepared, printed screenshots of their texts, a hotel receipt, and a note that read, "I know everything. Choose better." Jake's plan was simple but bold. He'd leave the envelope on his table, visible to Sophia as he walked out, letting her see the truth without a word. He signaled the waiter, paid for a coffee he barely touched, and slid the envelope into place. As he stood, Sophia's eyes flicked toward him. Her face froze, the wine glass pausing midair. For a split second, their gazes locked, her shock raw, his expression calm but unyielding. Alex, clueless, followed her stare but didn't recognize Jake. Sophia whispered something, her voice too low to hear, and fumbled with her purse. Jake didn't wait for her reaction. He walked out, leaving the envelope like a grenade with the pin pulled. Outside, he leaned against a street lamp, watching through the restaurant's glass wall. Sophia stood abruptly, muttering to Alex, who looked confused. She grabbed her purse and darted toward the exit, Alex trailing behind. Jake slipped into the crowd before she could spot him again, his pulse steady. He'd done it. Not with a shout or a scene, but with precision. The envelope was his mic drop, and Sophia would have to face it alone. By the time Jake reached his car, his phone buzzed. A text from Maria, Sophia's cousin, who'd become his cautious ally. Sophia just called me, freaking out. Said you were at the restaurant. What happened? Jake didn't reply immediately. He drove to a nearby coffee shop, the kind open late for insomniacs and tourists, and ordered a black coffee. Only then did he text back. I didn't say a word. She saw me. That's enough. Maria's response came fast. She's telling people you're stalking her. Be careful. Jake smirked. Of course, Sophia was spinning it already, painting herself the victim. But the envelope's contents, hard evidence, wouldn't bend to her narrative. Back at his hotel, a budget spot far from Sophia's upscale choice, Jake checked a secure drive. The video from tonight was clear. Sophia's hand on Alex's, her laugh, the keycard on the table. Combined with the texts and receipts, it was a story no one could rewrite. He emailed a copy to Maria, adding, only share if she lies again. I'm not here to destroy her, just to be free. Maria replied, I got you. This isn't right, Jake. Her support, however small, felt like a lifeline. Sophia's next move came faster than he expected. At 2 a.m., his phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. He let go to voicemail. Her voice, shaky but sharp, filled the silence. Jake, we need to talk. You can't just show up like that. You're scaring me. He almost laughed. Scaring her? She'd mocked him for months, planned weekends with Alex, lied to his face. But Jake didn't call back. He knew her game. Deflect, accuse, control. Instead, he sent a single text. I'm not coming back. You know why? Then he blocked the number. The next morning, Jake drove back to Miami, the Orlando skyline fading in his rearview. He wasn't running. He was strategizing. Sophia's lies were unraveling, and the envelope was just the start. He'd exposed her without raising his voice, without breaking the law. Now, he'd wait to see how she'd handle the truth, catching up. Back in Miami, he opened his laptop, ready to plan his next move. The game wasn't over, but Jake was no longer playing by her rules. Sophia's lies crumble after Jake's bold move in Orlando, leaving an envelope of truth to expose her affair. Now, back in Miami, the fallout hits hard. Her cousin turns ally, her coworkers whisper, and her story unravels. But when Sophia strikes back with a vicious lie, Jake must decide, stay silent or fight for his truth. The tension skyrockets as the consequences close in. Jake Alvarez drove back to Miami, the memory of Sophia's frozen expression in that Orlando restaurant fueling his resolve. The envelope he'd left on the table, packed with screenshots of her text with Alex and a note saying, I know everything. Choose Better had done its job. At 32, Jake wasn't the broken husband Sophia had mocked in her messages. He was a man reclaiming his life, one calculated step at a time. The burner phone, his key to her double life, was safely backed up, its evidence a shield against her lies. By Monday, the ripples of his move were spreading. Jake woke to a text from Maria, Sophia's cousin, who'd become his unexpected ally. Sophia's losing it, she wrote. She told me you stalk her at the restaurant, but I saw the envelope pics you sent. I know she's lying. Jake replied, thanks for having my back. Keep it quiet for now. Maria's response was quick. I'm done covering for her. People are talking. Jake leaned back in his chair, sipping coffee. Sophia's carefully crafted image was cracking, and he hadn't even raised his voice. At Sophia's marketing firm, the fallout was swift. Jake had heard through Maria that a co-worker who'd been at the Orlando restaurant saw him leave the envelope and walk out calmly. The co-worker told others Sophia had exaggerated, claiming Jake harassed her when he hadn't said a word. By midday, Maria texted again, HR's reviewing Sophia's complaint. She tried saying you're unstable, but no one's buying it. Jake's lips twitched into a grim smile. Sophia's lies were collapsing under their own weight, just as he'd planned. He decided it was time to move. Staying in their shared Miami apartment, surrounded by memories of her betrayal, was suffocating. Jake found a small studio in Coral Gables, a quiet neighborhood far from South Beach's chaos. The landlord, a no-nonsense retiree named Luis, handed him the keys with a nod. Month to month, cash only. Keep it low-key. Jake agreed, packing his essentials, laptop, sketch pad, a few clothes, and left without a note. He wasn't running. He was restarting. That evening, Sophia tried to strike back. Jake's phone buzzed with an email from her, forwarded to their mutual friends. "Jake's been following me, scaring me," it read. "I'm worried about his mental state." Attached was a blurry photo of him outside the Orlando restaurant, taken from distance. Jake's jaw clenched. She was twisting the narrative, painting him as the villain. But she'd underestimated him. He replied to the group, calm and direct. "I haven't contacted Sophia. I left evidence of her affair in Orlando. Ask her about Alex." He attached a single screenshot, a text from Sophia to Alex, calling Jake a ghost in my life. The group chat went silent. The next day, Maria met Jake at a Coral Gables cafe, her expression tense. "Sophia is telling everyone you're obsessed, but it's backfiring," she said, stirring her coffee. "Her boss saw your email and asked about Alex. She's on thin ice at work." Jake nodded, his mind racing. He hadn't wanted to destroy Sophia, but he wouldn't let her rewrite his truth. "What's her next move?" he asked. Maria sighed. "She's desperate. Might try to confront you." Jake's eyes narrowed. "Let her try." That night, Sophia did. Jake was sketching in his new studio when his phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. He ignored it, but a voicemail followed. Sophia's voice was sharp, laced with panic. "Jake, stop this. You're ruining everything. Just come home and we can fix it." He deleted it without replying. Minutes later, a knock rattled his door. "Jake, it's me," Sophia called, her voice muffled but insistent. "We need to talk." He stayed still, heart pounding. She knocked again. "I ended it with Alex. I am sorry. Don't do this to us." Jake didn't open the door. He recognized her tone. Not remorse, but manipulation. She wasn't sorry. She was scared of losing control. After 10 minutes, her footsteps faded. He checked the hallway and found a note slipped under the door. "We can start over. Don't throw us away." Jake tore it up, his hands steady. He wasn't throwing anything away. Sophia had done that months ago. By morning, the fallout intensified. Maria texted, "Sophia's suspended from work. HR found out she faked a harassment claim. People are done with her." Jake exhaled, relief mixing with exhaustion. He didn't feel triumphant, just free. He joined a local running club that afternoon, jogging along Coral Gables' tree-lined streets, the rhythm of his steps a reminder of his new start. Later, he sketched a mural design, something vibrant and alive, for a community project. Sophia's world was unraveling, but Jake's was just beginning. Sophia's lies are exposed, her world in tatters after Jake's quiet stand. Now, in his new Coral Gables life, Jake rebuilds, free from her shadow. But when a final plea from Sophia tests his resolve, will he hold firm or falter? This is the thrilling close, a story of redemption, strength, and a sunrise that promises more than just a new day. Jake Alvarez jogged through Coral Gables' quiet streets, the early morning sun warming his face. At 32, he was no longer the husband Sophia had mocked in her text to Alex, calling him spineless and boring. Her affair, exposed by Jake's calculated move in Orlando, leaving an envelope of damning evidence at their restaurant table, had unraveled her carefully curated life. Now, 3 weeks after moving into his new studio, Jake was building something new, not out of spite, but for himself. The fallout from Orlando had been swift. Sophia's attempt to paint Jake as a stalker backfired when her co-worker's account and Jake's emailed evidence, a single text screenshot of her calling him a ghost, reached their mutual friends. Her marketing firm suspended her after HR confirmed she'd fabricated a harassment claim. Maria, Sophia's cousin and Jake's ally, kept him updated. "She's losing friends fast. People see through her now." Jake didn't gloat. He'd only wanted the truth out, not her destruction. In his new life, Jake found rhythm. He worked remotely as a graphic designer, pitching bold mural ideas to a local community center. He joined a running club, trading small talk with strangers who didn't know his past. One runner, Diego, invited him to a weekend barbecue, a casual gesture that felt like a lifeline. Jake said yes, surprised by how easy it was to connect without Sophia's shadow looming. He started sketching again, not just for work, but for joy, filling a notebook with vibrant designs inspired by Miami's colors. But Sophia wasn't done. One evening, as Jake returned from a run, his phone buzzed with a text from a new number. "Jake, please. I need to see you. I am sorry." He recognized Sophia's tone, desperate but calculated. He didn't respond. The next day, Maria called. Sophia is telling people she's changed, that she ended things with Alex. She wants to meet you at the South Beach Cafe, where you had your first date. Jake's stomach tightened. The cafe was sacred, where they'd laughed over Cuban coffee 5 years ago. Now it was her stage for another act. Against his better judgment, Jake went, not to reconcile, but to close the chapter. He arrived early, sitting at an outdoor table, the ocean breeze sharp. Sophia walked up, her steps hesitant, no trace of the confidence she'd shown with Alex. "Jake," she started, sitting across from him, "I messed up. I ended it with him. I didn't realize what I had." Her voice cracked, but Jake saw her eyes flick to the side, a telltale sign of her old deflections. He stayed silent, letting her fill the space. "I was overwhelmed," she continued. "Work life, it got to me. You were always so steady. I took it for granted." Jake leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "You didn't take me for granted, Sophia. You replaced me. You mocked me to him, to your friends. I have the texts." Her face paled, and she stammered, "That wasn't me. I was confused." Jake slid his phone across the table, showing a screenshot of her calling him a favor I couldn't stop granting. She froze, her excuse crumbling. "I'm not here to fix us," Jake said, standing. "I'm here to say goodbye. You don't get to rewrite this." He left a $10 bill for his coffee and walked away, her stunned silence trailing behind. As he crossed the street, his phone buzzed. A text from Sophia, "You're making a mistake." He blocked her number without a second thought. The next day, Jake sent a final email to their mutual friends, laying out the truth, the burner phone, the texts, the Orlando encounter. He didn't vilify Sophia, just stated facts. "I'm moving on," he wrote. "I hope she does too." Responses flooded in. Support from friends he'd thought were hers. Apologies from those who'd believed her lies. Even Sophia's mother emailed, "I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't know." He didn't reply. Their pity wasn't his goal. His peace was. Jake's new life took root. He designed a mural for the community center, a vibrant scene of Miami skyline, and saw it unveiled at a small event. Diego and the running club cheered, and Jake felt a warmth he hadn't known in years. Maria visited, bringing empanadas and news. Sophia had moved to Tampa, starting over after losing her job. "She's telling people you were the problem," Maria said, rolling her eyes. "But no one believes her anymore." Jake nodded, unbothered. Sophia's story was hers to carry now. One morning, Jake stood on his balcony, sketching the sunrise over Coral Gables. The light hit the trees, and he realized he was smiling, not at anyone, just at the moment. He'd spent years bending to Sophia's expectations, shrinking to fit her narrative. Now he was free, not because she fell, but because he rose. His story wasn't about her anymore. It was about the man who walked away, who chose himself, and who found joy in a life he built alone.